Fantasy Football Show.
Hello everybody, welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
And you're tuned into the greatest FPL podcast ever invented, created, the best FPL spoken word in the 21st century.
You started with such a bang, I don't know why you
Yeah,
went that
I was
way.
just thinking, what other cool claims could I make? But I've decided let's leave it be because
we won't make any claims. When the vote opens,
everyone's thinking right now, we've all had crap FPL weeks and you're trying to get us up, leave us down while we're there to be kicked.
What I was going to say is when the vote opens for the FCAs, we'll let you know which category we're going for.
So have they rebranded? Because last year was the Football Blogging Awards.
Yeah, and that's the
Football Content Awards.
Awards.
Makes some more sense because of YouTube and video and all of that kind of other stuff, content.
There's a social category. I'm not saying we organise live shows and socials, but maybe. Yeah, just keep that in mind, kids.
Wait, isn't that soon?
Let's stop all this. Let's do this shit at the end because new listeners will just
boring.
think we're self-indulgent, which we are a little bit. But
Depends what day of the week it is, listeners. So, end of game week 28. We are now recording, just for clarity, it's Monday when we're about to go into 3 or 4 days of FA Cup. 3 days of FA Cup. 5th round matches. 4 days, sorry. It's Thursday as well, right?
although we could, if Sheffield United win on Tuesday night, then we know everything by close of play Wednesday in terms of blanks.
Right, okay, fine. So we're in a very, very important 3 or 4 days from an FPL point of view off the back of a horrendous game week for so many people. So this is really where it's at. Tell everybody how you did, and I'll tell you, and then I'll run down my team. Reasonable week for you, mate.
Yeah. It's,
game week rank?
449,000.
Okay, top
44 points, which ordinarily you'd want to headbutt the table, but in this game week, I think it was a good score.
Well, I didn't even look at the game week average this week.
The overall average was 26 points.
Okay, so bad, yeah.
Shocking. I mean, it's always likely to be a little bit lower than you'd anticipate in a blank game week because there's less fixtures. But I think top 10k average was maybe 33 or something, I think. So
yeah.
It was quite low across the board. Like, it felt like on the afternoon of Friday, I pretty much decided my transfer was probably going to be Rico to Cathcart. I mean, how boring. But with 2 free transfers in the bank, obviously Cathcart kept a clean sheet against Liverpool. I was going to leave him on the bench. I was planning towards 31 with Rico now not in the Bournemouth team. But obviously I'd screamed all week, don't make early transfers, don't make early transfers. What I didn't anticipate was news breaking an hour before the deadline about one of the key players in the game, who so many of us, like myself, had held through to Norwich and Aston Villa fixtures in Jamie Vardy. At 5:58, I forwarded a tweet to Suj from what I believe to be a very trustable source, Sean from Enderby, who is always on the money with Leicester team news. So some rumours went round Friday afternoon, which I called out on my live stream as, yeah, don't worry about it. Completely wrong. Mm-hmm. It turned out the news was pretty spot on, which then obviously once Rockstar confirmed 10 minutes before kickoff, it was like, boom, 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 press the buttons.
Yep, 10 minutes before deadline.
Yeah.
As opposed to kickoff.
You never read the... I'm chasing you, and I tried to help you.
Yeah.
Tell the listeners I tried to help you.
I will when we get to my team. Trust me. I'll tell them the story of what happened.
So obviously, once it looked like Vardy wasn't going to play, I had to narrow down my choices in terms of what I was doing. I narrowed it down to 3 selections in terms of, I thought, sod this. It would have been the easy move to go, look, I'm 0.6 up on this guy. It's still Villa the week after. Could he be back for that? I haven't got the news. I was like, nah. Sod this. I've had enough. I narrowed it down to 3 choices in terms of who to replace. Jay Rodriguez.
Correct.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Okay.
And obviously I went for the choice of Diogo Jota because I've got so much faith in Tottenham at the moment, and added Jota to Jimenez and Traore.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever been in a position I've had 3 players away from home playing against Spurs. But that is what I ended up with, and it was the correct call for a change.
It was. Considering you had Jimenez and Jota and Charlie Taylor at the back, I mean, 44, I suppose it's 3 returners really, isn't it?
Well, I've hit kind of differential returns there in Lascelles, Charlie Taylor and Jota. And obviously the goal from Jimenez. That's all my week is.
Yeah. but decent. You beat me by 10 points, meaning the gap between us is now 35 points with 10 game weeks to go. So interesting. I only made one transfer, which I made earlier in the day. I got rid of Martin Kelly, who'd been lingering for a while, for Charlie Taylor. It was the best 4.2 option, I think, out there right now. Straightforward enough, and came straight in with a 6 or 7 point return. 6-pointer return, which was nice. I didn't read the tweet you sent me. And I'll tell you actually what actually happened. I thought you were messaging me to say, make sure you set your Sky captain first, right? Which
did you not think, what is this tweet?
So I just looked at Pereira's playing Sky captain, job done. And then I didn't read the rest of the team because I was still in the office trying to rush and get out. I needed to get back, sort the kids out, whatever.
You were rushing. You sent me back a screenshot of your team with Vardy captain. And I was
just thought, let me send it to you.
I thought you were sending it to me as in a question mark, as in, what shall I do? And
I do what you want to do.
So you had enough time to send me a screenshot of your team. I see you've got it on Vardy captain. And I just responded to you and went, do what you like with it.
Yeah,
mate.
yeah, exactly. But I didn't think, with your response, I thought you were just mentioning Vardy captain over maybe Salah, going with a Liverpool player this weekend, which, to be honest with you, now I got lucky because I left the armband on Vardy. Had I read that tweet that you've sent from Sean from Enderby, I would have moved it to Salah, and it auto moved. My vice captain was set from the previous week to Jimenez, and so I ended up getting Jimenez as captain at the weekend. So
that's a joker.
But I ended up with 10 players in the end because Rico didn't play, Vardy didn't play. So you beat me by 10 points with Jota, but I also only had 10 players this week. Only Charlie Taylor and a captaincy return from Jimenez, and the rest was not even worth writing about. I mean, my Leicester double up, Maddison and Vardy. I bet you feel better having got rid of one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want James Maddison in my squad at the moment, but I'm not sure. It's the same with Vardy. I think if you're still in the position that you've got, Vardy's really awkward this week because obviously they don't play Villa till Monday night. But I think for me, yeah, Maddison's probably last call in is Villa at home this week. Because I'm now looking, my thoughts wise now, I mean, I'm very relaxed about it. If you're saying what transfers you're making this week, I haven't got a clue. I'm quite switched off with it because of these FA Cup games. My thought process could completely change by sort of Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So, but immediate thoughts now would be, I want to come off Traore.
I've got, McCarthy in goal. He's fine because he's cheap, but he's not exactly tearing up trees at the moment. Lundstrom and Rico at the back, both could be replaced with better options moving forward. Cantwell is an issue. Maddison is an issue. Traore, I mean, yeah, you may want to come off him. I mean,
was it
the second goal?
He dislocated his shoulder again yesterday.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Who barged him and he was about to go through?
I don't even.
But
I remember when he did it.
His strength is something else.
I think it was something quite innocuous. He's obviously got an ongoing problem. At some point, that kid's going to need an operation.
Yeah, the problem with dislocations, once they go, they keep going.
Well, they just keep popping it in and out, don't they? I mean, eventually he's going to have that operated on, isn't he? At some point, it's probably not now. But my reason for wanting to come off is, A, he's got that injury, so at any point it'll go again. And B, like so many people now, I think, you obviously want Matt Doherty.
Yes, I agree with you.
And my thoughts on that is that at the moment, and it could change over the next couple of days, I'm planning towards game week 31 rather than thinking of free hitting in it. And the idea of, obviously, I think I've got an advantage now, Jota and Jimenez, because not many will have the pairing. And then to add Doherty to that, I've definitely got the best three.
I think
as well.
I'm open to
if Traore's out, where there was a lot of talk last week about, they've changed now. Bolly's back, then Donker's going back into midfield, and they've changed back to a 5-3-2 rather than more of a 3-4-3. One of the things I was screaming on the stream I did Friday was like, all of a sudden you think Jota and Jimenez are up front and they're going to leave this kid that only 2 weeks ago we're saying is now worth maybe 70 odd million. Suddenly they're going to be leaving him out of the team. I was like, I can't see it. But if Traore's out, I can see them going back to that with the two up front, and then Jota really, really appeals in that system particularly.
He looks lively at the moment.
Yeah, playing really well.
I'm happy to move from Salah to Mane to save me some money. Jimenez is all good, but Vardy, I mean, he's sitting there. He's not exciting me at all. And even Danny Ings, if you ask me right now, would I rather Calvert-Lewin or Ings? I'd rather Calvert-Lewin. So apart from Jimenez, Kevin De Bruyne, the two Liverpool defenders, Trent and Robbo and Charlie Taylor, so 5 players, there's no one there that I think if I had to sell them and replace them, I'd be particularly unhappy about. So a lot could happen. I might do what is a bit unconventional in FPL in a very quick wild card. So depending on what news we get after Wednesday night, I might do a wild card Thursday, Friday and be done with it, because I do think there's a handful of players that are really putting their hand up, which we'll talk about when we get into the games, that could be really good differentials. And by holding off, the likes of you and I haven't gone to a Calvert-Lewin, and he's still doing particularly well. Bruno Fernandes, I think we can accept is the real deal. I mean, scored a great goal at the weekend, could have scored another.
Oh, I don't know about great goal. Goalie should save it.
All right, but still, to hit it from there and put it in.
Oh, he levers the thing.
And he could have scored another, a great save from Pickford. So, I mean, he is there and he's going to be creating. And he is, I think, that missing player that United needed to link the midfield and attack. Defensively now, the likes of Matt Doherty, Pereira is big at the back, something to think about a little bit maybe. Serge Aurier, another attack in return. So, and we talked about him in the differential team, right? I said to play Aurier.
Well, I did.
Yeah, and so he's always there for an attack in return. I just think that there's every chance that I may play a wild card this week, depending on what happens with the FA Cup. I mean, a lot of teams go out, and suddenly it could be very, very different. Say Liverpool go out to Chelsea and you guys go out to Norwich. Could be an interesting...
that differential team of ours, by the way, talking about good game week ranks, 24,929, 59 points.
Wow.
That differential team.
59 points to get to 29k in the world.
And that's with a captain fail.
Wow. Yeah, it didn't do badly at all, eh?
It's doing really well. Join in Friday for more of that.
Yes. So interesting times this week. I know a lot of people had very difficult game weeks. The rises and the falls overall, I think if you put it into context and you look at your game week history, won't be big. I don't think, like, if you get 30 points or 25, 30 points, you're not going to fall as much as you might have in any regular game week. So.
No, we've said this before. It's 2 or 3 times a season you get it. If you've had a bad game week, this was a good one to have a bad game week.
Yeah, I mean, I ended on 34 points. That was a green arrow from 499 to
That's insane.
499 to 476, 25,000 place rise.
Wow.
So I'm taking that and I'm running to the bank, mate. So yeah, very, very tough FPL weekend. But on we go. No news yet on the Manchester City Arsenal game.
Yeah, should mention that. I said Friday night, 98% sure that will get arranged to double game week 29, Man City v Arsenal. Once obviously Arsenal lost to Olympiacos on Thursday night. My confidence in that now at time of recording, which is about 6 o'clock on Monday evening, is probably down to about 30 to 40%. There's no murmur of announcement. When the City West Ham game was postponed, it was clear that straight away there was talks so the next day it was like they're trying to make it happen for this weekend. Today there's nothing on the table in terms of rumours or talks or anything. If there isn't an announcement in the next 24 hours, I'd be really, really surprised if there is one after that. I think it has to be inside the next 24 hours. Otherwise, it's not right on the travelling Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck them, but it's not right on them.
What are we going to talk about? Should we go through the games?
Yeah, boy.
Friday night football, Norwich 1, Leicester 0. I mean, once Norwich won that game, we could have maybe read into the fact that everyone in the bottom 5 or 6 is going to pick up points this weekend, bar Villa. What's the story here? Is it Norwich won by playing their good football that they do, or is there a real concern around Leicester now? Leicester haven't been good for a number of weeks. I don't like having James Maddison to Bruno Fernandes. It's a straightforward move for me.
Is it just as simple as Ndidi?
I mean... Yeah.
Is it just as simple as that?
He does give them the platform to play creatively. It could well be. You're right.
I don't know. It just didn't feel right. I thought those who went Vardy to Iheanacho Friday night, Iheanacho was never on my radar as a consideration. I thought that balls. Balls out. I saw a few people captaining him. I think on the knowledge that he was definitely going to play. For me, it was one that you're going to be wanting to thump it back out.
Had it been around Christmas time when Leicester were in better form than what I'd seen, I would have advocated that move, and I did at the time, but obviously Vardy came back from injury. Right now, I wouldn't advocate that move. Doesn't feel that Leicester
not
in the right place.
I think like there was quite a few of Vardy was so highly bought last week. I was speaking to someone Sunday, was like, yeah. I mean, it's a casual. It's like, yeah, Aguero's out and I bought Vardy, and it's not really his fault. Like so many, it was better than buying Aubameyang. At least Vardy on paper had a game.
Yeah.
They obviously missed him. I think those who gambled on like Harvey Barnes or Jose Perez, there was some investment back in for Maddison. I think these were all decent moves. I think the Iheanacho one was the one that I saw a few doing it, and I just thought, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. It might pay off tonight, but it's just another transfer waiting to happen.
I think Cantwell at 3 points was almost differential.
A few people were treating that Friday night and on Saturday.
Extra cheeky little point off him was decent.
They've got a few players who are really underperforming at the moment, Leicester. We spoke when we had Anoop at Fox the FPL on a couple of weeks ago, like challenged him on Ben Chilwell a bit, because since that stuff at Burnley a few weeks ago, he's just not played well at all. Ricardo Pereira is one of the few players who feels like he's still playing well there at the moment.
Yeah.
I think as a whole team, they struggled Friday night. That said, if you've invested in the assets or you've still got like Maddison, like me, Villa are so open defensively. I mean, they did well in the cup final yesterday, but they were so open at times, and you just feel, particularly if Vardy's back, like for me as a Maddison owner, he will find a few passes and get them away. So it's definitely hold for Monday. Maddison's record in particularly is bad, really bad.
Yeah.
But if you said, I wouldn't say go and buy it, but I think if you're still on, like stay on.
I'm the same. If a wild card, they're bombing out.
It's just not this week.
But
it's not this week.
Not on wild
and
card,
again, for those planning, like they're on a bad run. Nobody expects them not to beat Birmingham in the FA Cup. But suddenly, if they're out, then you're in a position where they've got Brighton at home in 31, and then you're looking at going, right, so 2 of the next 3 are Villa at home, Brighton at home. Do I want to sell if that's the case? No, I don't think so.
No.
On Norwich, like impressive. I see everybody coming out the woodwork again Friday night saying, oh yeah, they're the best team to ever be bottom of the league. I felt a bit sorry for them over the weekend because they won, and then it was like, oh shit, they're only like 3 points behind you. Like they can see it.
Yeah.
And then everybody else got a result except Brighton, which was the furthest away anyway.
Yeah.
So challenges to come for them. They still have, Norwich, a number of winnable home games left. And I think they probably need to win at a minimum 3 of them to have any chance of staying up. But yeah, like their performances at home, was we've seen against some of the bigger sides this year. Liverpool was okay. They obviously beat City. I don't even really want to include Spurs, but drew with Spurs, drew with Arsenal, give Chelsea a really good game. They've obviously beat Leicester now. Like, they're going to do all right, particularly on their own patch. If they can add a few goals away from home, then suddenly they're interesting again. Could they be like the form horse running into this closure? And I feel like I'm considering going back to a cheapy midfielder, and I have no qualms if I go back to that area that it would probably still be Todd Cantwell. Yeah,
his price is good. I feel like it's that glimmer of hope that Norwich are giving their fans, but ultimately it's going to be too late for them. You mentioned the one team in the bottom 6 that didn't get a result was Brighton. Brighton 0, Palace 1. Derby Day away victory for Palace. Bizarre.
For promise for Adam Pritchard, our Arsenal correspondent, I'm not going to degrade Derby in any way like I promised I would. I have. The game was interesting because something happened in the first 15 minutes that I hadn't seen happen in a really long time. Palace played like the home team. They got in Brighton's face and really pressed them. And then for some reason, it just stopped. They were the better side in that opening period because they were putting pressure onto Brighton. And then it just stopped. And then Brighton got into the game slowly, weren't playing great. And in the second half, it just felt like the goal was going to come. And it did, but at the other end.
Yep. Benteke with an assist.
It was brilliant for the goal.
He's probably added £10 million to his value all of a sudden. This is Christian Benteke.
I wish he was up front for Spurs.
Brighton are in trouble here.
That's said in jest, but sometimes partly not as well.
I'm worried about Brighton.
When did they last win, man? Was it the Arsenal game in early December?
It's been a long time.
Well, there's more games in that period than there is to go. You start worrying for them.
They're still got a little bit of buffer room from the drop zone, but one win for Bournemouth and they could be straight back in it. There's no assets from Brighton that are interesting me. There's no assets from Palace that are interesting me unless something radical happens with Game Week 31.
Brighton's next 4: Wolves away, Arsenal at home, Leicester away, Man United at home, and then following a trip to Norwich, Liverpool at home, Man City at home. Then following that, there's only 3 games to go. I got to get out of this psyche of mine that they're going to be all right.
No, I don't think they're going to be. I mean, it's.
I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because
Bournemouth have got tough fixtures. Villa have got tough fixtures.
I think the principle of how they want to play is right, but they're just not getting the results. No. I mean, a different day, they easily win that at the weekend. I'm not saying that. I mean, Wilfried Zaha's XG was probably pretty high at the end because he just scored twice in injury time, particularly the one where he hit the post. But the goal came at a period where you could only see Brighton winning. Obviously, I went Fabianski in goal for the South team rather than Guaita. It's just me all over every week, isn't it? What do you mean, why? Well, because I fancied you to maybe keep Southampton out rather than Palace at Brighton. Palace hadn't had a clean sheet in ages before the Newcastle game. So typical Palace. Don't have a clean sheet for 10, then suddenly there's 2 in a row. Joel Ward I noticed is interesting a couple of people, well, more than a couple, maybe a whole handful, because obviously he's at that same price for Martin Kelly if people are still hanging around it, and you can make that direct swap, I think.
Lascelles and Taylor probably a bit better value.
I think they're both 4-3 now as well.
Oh, have they gone up over?
Yeah, but I would still probably prefer both of those two. Definitely
find the money.
Still be advising Charlie Taylor in and around that value. But if you're looking for a second one and you're kind of still stuck on a Kelly or Rico, you could do worse than it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I can't be invested in Brighton because it's the same thing over and over. You change back to a back 4 again this week. Never know from one week to the other how they're going to set up. Be interesting. The only interesting one maybe to follow. Be interesting to see if the boy they brought back from McAllister gets any minutes in the coming weeks. He hasn't at the moment got an FPL price. I thought he had been added to the game. If you know someone who like works at official FPL or anything, if you're doing like an FPL FYI or something, you might want to give him a shout. 4.5 mid at this stage would be quite nice for people, maybe.
I don't, but I'll put it on their Twitter. I'll tweet them. I'll DM them. I'll slide into their DMs. What does Marcus Alonso at 6 million have to do to get back in our FPL teams?
Not a lot more than this. He must be.
How tempted are you with Marcus Alonso?
I'm not particularly. But
I joke in jest about big at the back. For me, like the 2 Liverpool guys plus Matt Doherty plus other comes down to maybe an Alonso or a Ricardo Pereira. But I mean, he's getting forward, taking shots.
It breaks the strategy for me unless I come out of these fixtures and if I've come out of these fixtures and already got sort of 8 for 31, for example.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden I might look at it and go, yeah, I might be able to force this.
He's still expensive at 6 million, but
what's interesting as well, that there's another game of information tomorrow night when they play Liverpool in the Cup. I would sense that after the first leg result against Bayern, that they'll possibly go a bit stronger than they had originally intended to, maybe Chelsea. Mm-hmm. It's worth saying, obviously, Alonso got sent off in that Champions League game as well, so he'll be suspended for the second leg. So from a rotation point of view, that potentially helps. And it's hard to... One of the things I said last week was I think because they're so stocked with wingers, with Hudson-Odoi, Pedro, Willian, Pulisic, that they'll end up going back to that front 3. But at the moment, none of those 4 players that I've mentioned probably warrant even being in the team. And therefore, there's a strong chance that this sticks. If it sticks, he's a brilliant FPL asset because other than, obviously, the trip to Manchester City in 31, which we could probably guess at this stage because City have got Sheffield Wednesday, will get postponed irrespective of what Chelsea do. The fixtures otherwise for Chelsea are great.
Really interesting.
And so really, yes, Marcus Alonso should be on the radar. I don't know. It just feels like no sooner will you get him in that he'll change it again.
Frank.
Because in spite of what he's doing attacking-wise, they've got major issues defensively. he's changed it again at the weekend. So Rudiger didn't play. I don't know if that's just give him a break 'cause he's played so much football lately. I think Rudiger is probably the outstanding one from those centre halves. We've conceded 2 sloppy goals again.
Yeah.
Giroud would interest, I think, at 6.5, but I would assume that when Abraham's back, he'll be back in the team. At the moment, we really don't know how bad that injury is or isn't. Just to note, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is very near fitness, 6.3, obviously not played at all this season. And if they're going to persist with this formation, I can see him picking up one of those spots behind the front man, and he could be really, really interesting as a huge differential. He's got no ownership, obviously. Not that's live anyway.
He's a very good player, Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
One to keep an eye on, maybe.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Bournemouth, on the other hand, Josh King comes back, gets on the score sheet, and we talked about him on the final plan in terms of the differential team, potentially. Now...
I went for Callum Wilson.
Yeah. I think he's the one that interests me. Like if you said to me Giroud 6.5, I'd take Josh King at 6.1 ahead of him. Bournemouth always have the ability to score goals, is the feeling that I get. They have good creative attacking players and good finishers in Callum Wilson and Josh King. I take Liverpool out of the equation this weekend. Having said that, they've just conceded 3 against Watford and 2 against us, so I don't know if that's anything to read into Liverpool's defensive situation. They got Palace, Wolves, Newcastle, then Man United, Tottenham, Leicester in a run of 6 when they have to get some results.
Manchester City following that.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to play everybody twice at some point, right? If you are looking for a player in a team that has to get results in the next 6 weeks, that can create chances, Josh King's not a bad shout. I don't like spending too much money on these kind of differential style players. Callum Wilson rules himself out because of his price. But I don't think Josh King's too bad.
I disagree. Another one to keep an eye on who's also new in fitness is obviously David Brooks, who have missed all season.
Oh, yeah.
It's a super little talent.
He's just a bit late in
very
the season.
Very similar price, 6.2, but he might be one coming into the running. Right? Yeah, that you'd consider. Thing is with Josh King, yeah, he's 6.1 million. Calvert-Lewin's 6.3. Jota's 6.3.
It's a crowded space, actually, that spot
and
now.
Unless you've got both the other two and you're struggling on the finances, I don't see where Josh King gets a look in.
Are you throwing Neil Maupay into that same mix?
No, I'm not throwing
Chris
Neil
Wood
Maupay
into that same mix?
The only one I did want to pull out from Bournemouth was Jack Stacey, who obviously got assist at the weekend, 4.3. I think it was only him and Fornells, your boy, Suj, who created more than one big chance at the weekend. Likes to get forward, was a fella they got in the summer from Luton Town. Our friend Bricky, I'm sure, speaks quite highly of him. But can't be having a Bournemouth defender. Again, it might be another one who, for 31, you would maybe sort of consider in and around that value. But, I mean, do you want them defensively? Bournemouth are just a pass-on buy for me, I think.
Newcastle and Burnley played out the 0-0 draw as predicted by Sai, our correspondent. I thought Burnley might end up nicking it, but from all the reports and what you can see, this was just... Should we just let it skip it?
Not at all. And if anyone was going to nick it, it was absolutely Newcastle. There was a big rumour that went round Friday that they were going to change formation. Amongst all this, by the way, where we're not getting injury news at the moment, we'll come on to Danny Ings. It was a strong rumour that they were going to change system. I think we was all quite intrigued to see what this was going to end up looking like. It ended up looking like a 4-4-2. And fascinatingly, this 4-4-2 didn't include Saint Maximin. You think, well, what's that all about? So, and in spite of going to 2 up front and Joe Linton playing, one of the 2 up front wasn't Joe Linton. He played on the left. Similar position to what Gabriel Jesus played for Manchester City in Madrid. Sai, FPL footballer, our Newcastle correspondent, spoke with us months ago. I think probably before they played Chelsea around about game week 8 or 9. And he compared him to, not in terms of technical ability, but in terms of positioning like Firmino. He wants to drop off. He's not a natural goal scorer as such. And so he played off the left, ended up really deep. Almiron played in an advanced position, essentially, with Dwight Gale. Dwight Gale is somebody who knows where the onion bag is. He's another one who feels like in the Championship can do it, in the Premier League not so much.
Yeah.
He might be one to keep an eye on. He's 5 million. But someone else priced slightly higher for Newcastle did really prick my attention this week, and particularly if they end up playing in game week 31. Matt Ritchie.
I knew you were going to come out with Matt Ritchie.
0.2% owned. 5.3 was someone people shouted about right at the start of the season as a potential differential, reclassified as a defender, and also, we would think from last season, on the penalties.
Yep.
Now, Newcastle don't win too many, but that's one potentially. I think for free hitters, if they end up playing in game week 31, in terms of you're not going to be able to spend all your money, Matt Ritchie is the sort of one that really should be on your radar in a couple of weeks to see if he keeps that position wide right on the midfield, which was before Newcastle kind of converted to a back five with Newcastle and he reinvented himself as the left wing back. That was the position where he really started off at Bournemouth and began to really impress people. One to closely keep an eye on. This wasn't Burnley's best day, but quite often, as they do on days when they don't have their best days, they
grind it out.
They grind it out. And Nick Pope must be, for those who sold before Burnley played Leicester in game week 23 or in game week 22 when they played Chelsea, Nick Pope must be absolutely haunting people.
I mean, that's 5 returns in 6. Is it 3 of which are double figures or 2 of which?
49 points in 6 game weeks.
Yeah, mental.
How does that happen?
Would you invest the extra $500,000 to go back to Nick Pope from Alex McCarthy?
Yeah, it's a consideration for me.
Their fixtures, they walk into Tottenham and then City, but after that, you'd hold Nick Pope until the end of the season.
Well, I think for me, it's probably more a case that rather than in place of McCarthy, I would just add 2.
Right.
It's probably where I'd be at. Get it sitting there ready for 31 if Southampton and Arsenal is off, and offer me that backup. 'Cause I guess we talk about it a bit, but McCarthy's performance wasn't the greatest on Saturday.
No. He could lose his place.
I wouldn't have thought so, would be my instinct, because I just think Angus Gunn was so bad around that period of the 9-0 with Leicester. But I don't know, training-wise, he might have stepped up. He's a good prospect, Angus Gunn. As I've said numerous times on this pod, although McCarthy's in my FPL team, I'm not a big fan of him.
No.
So Pope's another one who I think, again, for free hitters, he's going to be in so many teams. And for me, planning that way, I'm shielding it. I'm not trying to attack that game week. I'm just trying to shield off what others have potentially got. And Nick Pope is probably very much back on my radar. But I don't want to get him in and then walk straight into Man City away with him, particularly. As good as it's been lately.
No.
So, but yeah, sympathy for those who sold and move it on. Wow, what a difference in points.
Painful.
Yeah.
West Ham 3, Southampton 1. A comfortable home win
we're
for
there,
West
are we?
Ham. Yeah, already. There's not that many games. We had 8 games this week, right?
What did you think when you saw Danny Ings wasn't in the Southampton team?
Joy. Initially, I was like, thank God. And then
You remembered he was in your team?
No, I didn't care. To be honest with you, I couldn't care less about FPL.
It's the same as me.
Weekend.
When I saw Traore, Jota and Jimenez were all playing for Watford, for Wolves against Spurs, even though they were in my team, I went, oh fuck.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't care less. I had that, and then I was confused as to why, because admittedly I wasn't that active on Twitter in the morning of or whatever, or the night before when you were even sending me tweets. I was like, and then it came from nowhere. Absolutely came from nowhere. And that was the interesting thing. And then I was trying to figure out, is he injured? Because he was on the bench. So was it just a niggle? Was it an injury? What was the issue with it?
We had a little talk on our way in this morning about, there's obviously a few instances recently where this news has kind of come to light once the teams come out. I mean, in the case of Vardy, for those who were engaged on Twitter, probably had enough time to make a decision whether some would have been happy with what they've done, some won't be. It's the way it goes. The Danny Ings one is particularly frustrating in comparison to Vardy, and I'll explain why. So Brendan Rodgers did his press conference on Thursday. Now, I don't know if Vardy's picked up that injury on Thursday afternoon in training. It's possible. And at that point, Rodgers has no obligation then start calling up the media and going, yeah, by the way, he's injured.
He's out, yeah.
The Danny Ings one is the sort of one that will really piss people off, because when the team came out, there's quotes from Hassan Hootel over Southampton social media saying, oh, yeah, he only trained on Friday. He ain't trained all week. Well, come on, tell us.
Yeah.
Now, I'd say to you, well, if nobody asked him in the press conference, which I can't believe in terms of injuries, he's under no obligation to say. But in the same press conference, he said, look, Walker Peters is back available. Jan Valery was also subbed. They're all available. We covered. He still played Ward-Prowse at right back, but we covered there. So that one is frustrating. I don't know if that's the sort of one you get a little poke and go, hang on a minute, mate. Because are they under any obligation to tell the truth or not? Because it's becoming more and more common themes. Like, say, Lloris with Spurs. If he's picked up the injury on Saturday, he's picked up the injury Saturday. But I don't know. Maybe Mourinho's not said anything. He picked up the injury on Wednesday or Thursday. Who knows?
Yeah. Difficult one at the moment. And I know it's frustrating a lot of people out there.
It just feels like there's more of it coming. And I think it's building to a bit of frustration. And that's why so many of us are trying to source reliable sources on Twitter, like Sean from Enderby, that we go, okay, yep, do you know what? That's the team.
It's probably right.
How did they play Southampton?
Not good.
Why do you think that was?
They just lacked energy. I think defensively they were a bit sloppy, and they were slow on the ball. Ward-Prowse was their best player, and he's playing at right back. They just lacked that creativity from midfield to unlock us. Passed it around neat enough. I mean, the first half they had like 65% possession compared to our 35. Having said that, that's becoming the way with a lot of our games where we don't have a lot of the possession. But I've been to watched games where you look at it at halftime, you're like, I want to see what the possession stats are because we've not touched it. It didn't feel like a 65-35 split on the possession just because we had a lot more of the action and the chances. So yeah, it didn't feel like that. But they weren't at their best, Southampton. They're at their best when they're pressing and they're hustling and they're working hard. But you could tell that it meant more for us, and so we outworked them. And we weren't necessarily that much better in terms of quality, but definitely in terms of work rate and desire to want to get it over the line. It's why we won. Sheer will to get it over the line.
I think Nathan Redmond's absence has gone very understated. He obviously played very well against Aston Villa in the previous
I guess you're
game
right,
week.
to be honest. The link from midfield to attack, that pace to carry the ball and
suddenly
stuff,
you're taking out Ings, who's so energetic in terms of he does two things really well. One, he wants to spin in behind. Two, he's also comfortable dropping into feet and turning from there. He's comfortable playing either way. And Redmond's very direct in his running. I think it really benefits Ryan Bertrand when they play on that side together. And then Gineppo, who I criticised against Burnley, played well against Villa and then had a family bereavement, which is why he missed the game against yourselves. How did Boufal play?
No.
The thing is with Boufal, he's got unlimited talent, but he never provides the end product.
Even Obafemi, nothing. They didn't interest at all. Ward-Prowse is the only one who seemed like he had any quality and time on the ball. But other than that, they weren't good. And we outfought and out-muscled them for large parts of the game. Going 1-0 up and then 1-1, you're thinking, oh, come on, we're going to throw this away again. But then we came back strong. So it's good performance. We
have already recorded tomorrow's Tottenham. We did quite a bit on West Ham.
Yep. We didn't really talk about an FPL point of view, particularly.
No, we didn't. I did want to ask you first and foremost because the player, and I think everybody sit down before Suj answers this question, but the player that impressed you most Saturday was, Suj?
Sebastian Haller.
Wow.
Especially as the game went on, he got more and more confident, and his link-up play with Antonio was getting better and better and better. Antonio was getting very good at running in behind, and Haller was actually finding him for a change rather than playing loose passes. But quite often when he had Lanzini and Anderson and that around him, they wouldn't be looking. They would be looking for a pass, but they wouldn't be looking to get in behind with the ball. Whereas Antonio's, he only knows one thing: where's the goal and how fast can I run towards it? So it's disappointing. I tell you, the thing with West Ham, all of the assets are just too expensive.
Is that the case?
Bowen 6.5 expensive, and now Snodgrass, who's cheaper. What's Snodgrass? 5.2 or something maybe.
Yeah, cheapish anyway. 5.3.
You can't with Bowen's performance, you can't rely on Snodgrass getting minutes now necessarily. Antonio at 6.9. If you fancy a bit of OOP, I mean, he's gonna, if he plays as a second striker at 6.9, he will score another 3 or 4 goals before the end of the season. But 6.9 seems a little expensive for me. They all are a little bit too expensive by $500,000 to $1 million.
I think if Spurs lose to Norwich and Spurs West Ham happens, this might surprise people.
The Friday night game.
If Spurs and West Ham happens in 31, I think I'll buy Antonio.
Do you think?
I would certainly if that
bully
game
and
is,
get in behind you.
If that game is on, I would buy him before I bought any Spurs asset.
If I was going to buy anyone to hold, if you said to me they're all going to play the last 10 games of the season, which one are you going to go for? I'd go for Antonio because
he's on my radar.
He's very single-minded. That's the thing I like about him, and it's almost mindless single-mindedness. Like, he gets the ball, holds it up, and he turns and he just wants to run towards goal or run an attack. It doesn't matter if he's got support or hasn't got support. It doesn't matter if he's coming up against 5 defenders or 1 defender. It doesn't matter if he's on the halfway line or on the edge of the box. He just is so direct. It scares defenders. Honestly, it scares defenders. And his hold-up play with Haller's hold-up play are very good. Yeah.
I also think that he is somebody who I'm not bothered with fixtures. I've seen him do it in big away games before, score at Tottenham, Anfield, Old Trafford. I've seen it before from him. So it wouldn't bother me so much that you've got Wolves, Spurs, Chelsea coming up if the Spurs game happens. He's got 5 attacking returns this year and essentially what equates to just over 10 games of football, basically. It's one every 2. Admittedly, that was only his second goal this season. Just looking back historically a little bit more, last season in kind of 22 games total in 90 minutes, basically. He's got like 14 goal returns. The problem with him is always the breakdown of injuries. The 2 things that are concerning are the injuries and the price. I agree the price is a bit too much. But
we're getting to that stage of the season where we don't really look at
if it's the right player.
If you fancy a bit of...
How many other midfielders are there good in that value at sort of 7?
Playing
if we're talking of moving off, man, I'm saying, for example, if you're like me and you're planning 31 and say, I don't know, Grealish is suddenly not available and Leicester, Maddison's not available and you want to come off that value, and obviously you've got people like Ismail Sarr emerging, and obviously people have Traore and maybe looking to move on. I'm just saying I wouldn't look beyond Antonio if you're going to stay with that 4-4-2 and he's going to play right up front with Allah, because I know he's going to be the one that's going to go off Allah. We talk about this on tomorrow's pod. And therefore, he interests me. He's one that I feel I can look beyond fixtures. I wouldn't be buying him this week, but it might be one if it comes round for 31. Yeah, honestly, genuinely, I would buy him before any Spurs player.
The other one that I would mention for everyone interested is Diop at centre-back. Only for the attacking threat. We've been much better at set pieces recently. The delivery's been really good. Snodgrass got great delivery. Creswell's got good delivery. And he has proved a little bit more of a threat. I think we're playing 4 set pieces. We've scored more from set pieces more recently. So I wouldn't put anyone off. What's he priced at? You've got him in front of you. 4.5?
Issa Diop is 4.3 million.
It's cheap.
He's absolutely dirt cheap. I think the problem is he's going to sit on your bench with a lot of these fixtures.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that if it works around your free hits and your bench boosts and you're planning around that, he's not bad at 4.3. He's the one.
You could do worse because on the other side as well, I think if West Ham are available in 31, once it comes the other side, yes, there's Chelsea at home, but the fixtures do ease up a little bit. And I think if you're still in the fight, there might be the odd clean sheet or 2 in there. 3 goals in the last 6. And he very nearly scored at the weekend as well. He did,
yeah. So, yeah, interesting there. Let's move on. We've talked too much about that club in claret and blue. Let's talk about the Hornets.
Okay, so let's come back to Watford, because I think the first thing we need to say is being such of blown Liverpool to death this year in terms of how good they've been. So we have to level this up and say how fucking shit they were on Saturday.
Yeah, there's 6 goals in 3 games. Lost to Atletico, were not good against us and had to rely on coming back late. We could have nicked it. And then, so it's, I suppose my point is, it's been brewing a little bit. There haven't been that well-oiled machine for the last week and a half.
Week and a half.
Yeah, I know, but we're clutching at whatever we can with Liverpool. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Anybody who says they saw this coming were lying. I gave this some serious thought to try and remember the last time that front three was so ineffective. And having thought about it hard, I came to the conclusion that there wasn't an answer. This was the least effective I'd seen the 3 of them together since Salah had arrived. Couldn't think of a game where they'd been that bad, all 3 of them. Firmino, sloppy. Mane just looked disinterested. Salah on the ball, I said this before as an owner, he has certain games you just think, he ain't doing shit today. And Saturday looked like one of them games very early. Midfield missed Henderson, it's worth saying.
Yeah.
Who knew that actually it's Jordan Henderson is the reason why Liverpool is not
That's
the
so
sole
good.
reason. But I think they missed him from a leadership perspective.
Well, most people are saying that the biggest problem was actually at the back with playing Lovren
was going to
instead
come
of,
there.
Gomez. So maybe Jordan Henderson, not so
The
much.
thing with Lovren is, and as someone who obviously follows Spurs, these Kane and Lovren battles have been something, even in England-Croatia games, has been quite a big deal. Sometimes Lovren comes up against a certain opponent and he just gets absolutely fixed on it. It's like he forgets that the game is even happening. And he just becomes so obsessed with his opponent. I've seen him have games against Kane where he looks brilliant. And I've seen him have games against Kane, I think of the 4-1 at Wembley, where Klopp dragged him off after about 35. He dragged someone off after 35 minutes. It might have been Lovren, where Kane and Son tore him a new one. But he just gets so tight. And it's a game when you could see, I feel like I could sense in the game that Deeney knew that he had him.
Deeney
and
said
Lovren got obsessed with him.
Deeney said in his post-match press conference that he just wanted to fight me. So if he wanted to fight me, come and fight me.
But he's going to lose.
Yeah.
He's going to lose. Because Deeney loves all that.
Deeney knew.
It's
Deeney
exactly
said it in his
what
post-match
Deeney
press
wants.
conference. Yeah.
What will confuse Troy Deeney is when it goes into him and you back off a yard.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to control the thing and think about what I do. I'm
Well,
not saying
his finish
I'm not saying
was
Troy
pretty
Deeney.
sweet.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's a bad footballer.
No.
But Deeney wants to feel you. So what does
Yeah.
Lovren do? Starts hugging him the whole game. Deeney's like, I'm going to have a bit of you back here.
Yeah.
And I think it made Van Dijk nervous. I think it made, because he was on the same side, I think it made Trent was not great at all. I think it just made them nervous from top to bottom. There were so many things. I mean, on the first goal, like he pins on Deeney and gets obsessed, and the ball bounces over the two of them. Van Dijk doesn't get there. He's so slow to get across. It's like he's in like 50% mode. He just wasn't really at it. Robertson, I'm not saying he should have got there, but Robertson mentally is also switched off. Let Sarr come across and get in front. There were just so many facets from Liverpool that just weren't at it. And you mentioned to me this morning off camera, do you think it was like physically? And I said, I don't think physically so much because they haven't played in the week, but mentally.
They could be tired.
I know they weren't admitting it, and we said so many times, if it comes to it and it's a case of record or Champions League, they'll go for the Champions League, in my opinion, if the trophy is there. But I think mentally, it was starting to get to them. As soon as you go behind, psychologically, you get to this stage of the season, and I think it got like this for Arsenal. Arsenal drew a lot of games late in that season in 03-04. And you just rather than thinking we need to get back and win this game, you start thinking we can't lose this. We can't lose this. And you start making nervous errors that you just wouldn't normally make.
No.
I think even on the second goal, all right, it's a ball in behind from Deeney after good work from Will Hughes you wouldn't expect. But I think Van Dijk normally just senses that danger, and he just didn't. It was like he didn't even know Sarr was there.
Having said that, Saturday lunchtime kickoff, Mane or Salah still very, very solid captaincy options.
Oh, you're mad not to.
Exactly.
I mean, 100%.
This
If the 29 double doesn't happen, even if it does for me, I would still captain Salah over De Bruyne at the weekend. No hesitation at all. Bournemouth ain't great defensively. They're going to want to respond.
Yeah.
We'll know the team as well from Rockstar or someone. We'll get the early team. So if suddenly Salah's rested, then everything I've got planned is off the table, mate, and I'm smashing Mane into my team and I'm captaining him. And, you know, all the planning goes out the window at that stage, so I've got to get that captaincy right. So I think it was just a really bad blip, and it might even benefit them that it's gone, you know.
Yeah, I think so as well.
You know what's scary for them, though, before we come on to Watford? In 10 days' time, their season might be finished.
That's true. Out of the FA Cup, out of the Champions League, the league title's
season's
done.
finished.
That would be very, very funny if that does happen.
Be so anticlimactic. The same,
Not in a ha-ha
not
funny,
this
but
early in the season, but basically in 04, the same happened to Arsenal when, in the space of a week or so, lost to Chelsea in the Champions League quarterfinals and then Man United in the FA Cup semi-final, and suddenly it felt completely deflated. They played Liverpool on Good Friday and they were 2-1 down and they were shitting themselves, and then Henry did bits what he was capable of doing. And then it just became the obsession of them to then keep that record of not losing. For Liverpool now, that's gone as well. Now, obviously, they can still hit record points totals. I don't think it will be an issue. But somewhere in there, and I'm not taking anything away from them, and you shouldn't take anything away from the supporters who should enjoy it, he's going to feel a bit anticlimactic. It really will.
Watford, on the other hand, still got something to play for, and they, like us, out of the relegation zone now. We didn't really see this coming, but the biggest takeaway, I guess, for me, from an FPL point of view, there wasn't really many that I was looking at from Watford anyway. The one that I would look at is the one that we would have looked at Christmas time before he got injured. It was after Christmas he got injured when I had him in my Sky team, but Ismail Lassar is definitely the standout there. I would have had him had he not got injured. There's every chance he could already be in my team ahead of Traore, for example. Lassar now is 5.2, 5.3 million?
6.2.
6.2, sorry, yeah.
And it's fair. If we go back 4 or 5 months when they were in the real shitter, and we kept saying, where is this kid? They've spent so much money on him. Where is he at? And now, I think you've been mentioning Sky. He's obviously, sorry to sort of jump in on Sky there, but he's a great option for the Sky game as well. So just give himself another electric shock. You're getting really good at that, mate. Have you got coronavirus and just need to wash your hands?
Nah, it's got nothing to. I don't know. That was an electric shock that actually hurt there.
When I talk about Antonio earlier, I'm sure a lot of people are going, you ain't going to buy Antonio ahead of Ismail Assar. No, you're absolutely right. I'm not. And for me right now, if it goes the way I'm thinking it will for game week 31, I'm probably intending to this week buy Ismail Assar for Adama Traore and then move off Diego Rico up to Matt Doherty. Yeah, I've got 3.3 sitting in the bank at the moment. And then that's me moving right in the direction I want to for 31. On that performance alone, he'll be in many a free hit team for game week 31. We spoke before the injury about the comparison really close between him and Doucouré, who I think's doing really well for Watford at the moment in that position off Deeney. And you shouldn't rule him out either at 0.6 cheaper if you're struggling. I think if you're in an area where you need someone at 5.6, like Doucouré's still okay.
He was like the assisting the assister kind of role, didn't he? Where he was putting the ball through before it got put through.
Sarr stands out. And the other thing is obviously with poor Delafeo's terrible injury, let's not go there. It was awful. Pereira, who we suspect will leave Watford at the end of the season, is going to come back in the team now. Thought he did fine when he come on, but Sarr is locked as well. There's no distractions for them in terms of cup or anything. This fella's going to play every week as long as he stays fit now. He's got bags of energy. Confidence must be absolutely flying after doing that to what everybody considers the best team in Europe at the moment, bar perhaps Manchester City. So yeah, Sarr at 6.2. If you want someone in that area, there's nowhere else to look beyond. It's okay. And there's a couple of others Watford would consider. I wouldn't consider Deeney at 6.2 because, again, it's that Jota Calvert-Lewin thing. I think you would favour both of those. Goalkeeper's okay at 4.9. And Cathcart at 4.3. I very nearly bought last week and obviously he would have sat on my bench, but it was moving ahead. He's another one. If you're still stuck at that Rico Kelly area and you want to come off, it's okay.
2 more games to get through, James. We've been rubbing on. We always do.
Yeah, well, we like to go into detail on shit, don't we?
Everton 1, Manchester United
Don't we? We ain't doing no detail on a Spurs game anyway.
Yeah, come straight back to Tottenham for that.
Right, but we need to get this straight out before we even talk about the game. I'm sorry, it's a VAR decision. Should that goal have stood, yes or no?
No.
You're going for no.
Yeah, I think it was the right decision to disallow it.
At the risk of losing every Everton follower we've got because they're smashing the shit out of Twitter. I agree. I think it was the right decision.
He was too. He pulled his legs back to get out of the way of the ball.
Yeah, I think
so.
What a lot of arguments been is there's 2 things. There's a real argument for the goal to be given. One, why these dickheads running the game come out and go, it's in De Gea's line of sight. Listen, come on.
It's got nothing to do with it.
Let's use some common sense. Obviously, De Gea could see over Sigurdsson, who's sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
But I don't see how you can be in that position and in no way what it should be interfering is the term that was used, because although De Gea wasn't getting there, there's no doubt about it. He made a step to the right to go for the original shot. It deflects off Maguire. Whether Sigurdsson was there or not, he wasn't getting there. We know that, but we can't make that judgment by the law, the rules that he won't get there, because there's nothing to say that he couldn't have done something remarkable and got there. The fact that Sigurdsson is there and has to pull his foot away from it, yes, it is blocking De Gea off. Now, I know he wasn't getting there, but for me, it was the correct decision.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate one.
However,
penalty.
Yeah. The correct decision overall there
penalty.
Should be rule out the goal, go back and look at how Wan-Bissaka absolutely wipes out Sigurdsson and give Everton a penalty. There you go. I hope that evened it up a little bit. That for me would have been the whole correct decision, which might have been really roundabouts, particularly if Everton had then converted the penalty. But by law, yeah, there should have been a check on the penalty, and I don't think there ever was.
No.
And that happens so much, by the way, where someone gets a shot away like that and they get absolutely wiped out. Oh, but because it's in the penalty area and someone's having a shot, it's so rarely given. That all anywhere else on the pitch.
Yeah.
Not only is it a foul, it's a yellow card as well. It wipes him out. So
what was the I'm racking my brain. What was the studs up challenge at the weekend that didn't get called by VAR? I remember talking to my brother about it on the radio.
Oh, you're testing me now, Suj.
It's going to come to me. Someone will talk to me about it. But I had a thought, James, talking about VAR while we do. Right, take Lo Celso, for example.
Yeah.
The foul where he should have got a red card and didn't.
Yeah.
20 minutes later, they decide that it is a red card.
Yeah.
Why don't they just send him off there and then?
Well,
because there's still 20 minutes or 30 minutes of the game left. There was an incident in one of the games where at half-time that they didn't give it and then they could have given it. I just think if you change your mind about a decision 10 minutes later, send him off 10 minutes later.
But why would you spend 2 minutes of it looking at it and then decide 10 minutes later I've got it wrong, which is what they did.
Yeah.
The other remarkable thing...
send him off then.
The other remarkable thing about it is because the VAR referee judged it at the time, in the same way our referee says, I saw it, even though they said afterwards that it's a red card, they couldn't ban him, which is ridiculous. Not that it did us any favours yesterday, by the way. And just on that, I remember Dele Alli is very likely to be suspended for Spurs at the weekend. Yeah, let's not go down a VAR rabbit hole, Suj. Let's talk about the game.
Calvert-Lewin or Bruno Fernandes, the two goal scorers are the two that I want in my FPL team.
Yeah, that's perfectly understandable. I think I may end up going a different route if Everton available in 31 and might just edge towards Calvert-Lewin, actually. But I think Ings, obviously, potential lack of form at the moment. You can't argue Calvert-Lewin's form. As I said last week with these two, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, the fixture doesn't seem to matter at the moment. It's not such a big deal. It's not like you're going to be throwing the armband on these guys. Calvert-Lewin, is at great value. It doesn't matter.
No.
So yeah, absolutely you can go for him.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes, that train is going to keep on rolling. No doubt about it. Can't put anybody off. I didn't watch the game yesterday. I was obviously at Spurs, but picked up bits of it. You're right to say, yeah, great shot. Pickford to save it, but then he could have scored later in the game as well. And obviously it's notable to say he's got 10 points just by hitting a long-range shot, basically.
Yeah.
So because of how involved he is at the play, a little bit like others in that sort of area, technical players, your Maddisons, your Grealishes, Christian Eriksen's previously, they are going to be hitting the BPS.
Yeah.
It's only going to need a little return.
And up they go.
That's a bonus because with him, quite often a goal is not going to be worth 5. It's going to be, worth 8 there, basically.
Yeah.
And that has to come into factoring in your decision making as well.
And let's wrap up with Spurs Wolves. We'll give them a quick summary because we go into a little bit more detail on Tottenham, which is the Tuesday podcast that we put out, talking in more detail about West Ham and Spurs. As predicted by the one and only at Planet FPL pod.
I don't take any joy in that being correct that I thought Wolves would win the game.
I found it very interesting. I didn't watch the game. I had the SofaScore notifications on. It goes, oh, Spurs have scored. All right, maybe it's business as usual. Nah, 1-1. That sound I made was like a crowd cheering, which is what SofaScore does when you score a goal. Anyway.
It was a big cheer when the second goal went in because I can't believe A, that Aurier did that with his left peg, and B, there was attractive football in the build-up play.
Nice.
yeah, we actually scored a nice goal, a very untypical Mourinho team-like goal. To say that we didn't deserve to lose would be incorrect, but a draw was probably a fair result. Does that statement make any sense?
It does.
Like, we didn't play well enough to go, oh, we were unlucky, but probably on the day, a draw was a fair result.
Yeah.
Wolves lull you into this security, I think, quite often, where you think you're playing better than you are, because they're just so happy to sit off, and they spring at you and press at you in the right areas at the right time. I believe they are so well coached. Every week, you're talking about SofaScore, every week I go down, I look at the positional average position maps at every team, and every week I look at Wolves and go, fuck me, ain't that pretty? There's always good space in between their players. They're always positioned where people don't get pulled out of holes where they shouldn't be, completely well drilled. You play against them, you feel like, I speak about it tomorrow, and I spoke about it last week about Dele Alli picking up areas between Moutinho and Neves and Wolves' back three, and it's really the only way to get at them. And it's actually what we did on the second goal. But it's tough going to do it. And they break so well. And what they do so unique about it is they have individual players who can carry the ball who you think maybe can't. Like Jota, Jimenez, and Neto did it very late in the game as well. And obviously Traore's a different beast. They run at you. They can counter-attack and be outnumbered and do it very, very well. How many goals have we seen where you think, oh, Jota, Traore on the break here, and it's still like 4-on-2, not in their favour, and they'll pull it out. Brilliant footballers. Very happy to have them in my FPL squad at the moment. I wouldn't put anybody off doing what I've done. It's obviously so many will be on Jimenez.
It's just which
adding
ones
Jota
you pick,
is okay.
Right? I think Jimenez, Jota, Doherty do stand out, but if you can't afford them, Bolly's all right, Seiss is all right.
If you're on none,
Moutinho's all right.
If you're on none, I suggest you fix it.
Yeah, I agree with you, definitely.
That's what I would say. I would probably, if you were going to buy Jota or Jimenez now, right now, I'd actually probably advise you go Jota. And the reason I say that is because of Traore's injury. So he's dislocated his shoulder, so that he could be available next week, but I suspect he probably won't be. And there's Europe. I think if Traore's out for a little bit, they will then, now, with him out, go back to what we'd suspected, which is the two up front. And in Jota in that position is then dynamite. He almost becomes Jimenez's equal, in my opinion. Yeah. So I would advise going that way. What was really interesting that probably a lot of the listeners will have watched Everton Man United yesterday. Spurs were the better side in the first 20 minutes or so. And a couple of times Wolves changed the personnel of players. Now, I don't think this is relevant going forward, but it might be again when it comes back round. Jimenez and Traore swapped a couple of times for sustained spells in the game for sort of 5-10 minutes, where Jimenez ended up wide on the right and Traore played through the middle. Now, again, I don't know if that's him managing his injury, or I think it was more a case of, let's batter Spurs on the counter-attack straight through the middle. You don't have to fuck about with Spurs and go round us. Just go straight at us. Very good Wolves. They can play a lot better than this. I think if they show proper consistency and can win games that they would normally draw against shit opposition, then they really can finish fourth. Really can. I think outside the top three, they're the best team in this division. I think they're better than Chelsea, better than Man United. And yesterday, they managed to beat a shit team, which is unlike them.
Yeah.
Spurs just move on over. If you want to consider Serge Aurier, crack on. He is going to get an assist every 3 weeks or so, because I don't see where else Spurs are creating goals from.
Now, you see that look on James's face if you're watching on YouTube, or you hear the pain in his voice if you're a podcast listener.
Wait till you listen to tomorrow, it gets worse.
Tune into Tottenham tomorrow, because we go into a little bit more detail, or I've got a better solution for people.
Go on.
James sounds like he needs a whiskey, doesn't he? So...
have you got some?
No. But on Friday, which is the 6th of March, in London, the bearded duo... Josh and Brandon, the OGs. If there was FPL content creators, they're like the Wu-Tang Clan, the NWA, because they're the OGs. They're the original old school, but they're probably younger than me, both of them, are in town, and we're going to the meetup, and so people can buy you whiskey there to numb your pain.
I never shouted about it because I thought I was going to be stuck babysitting, and I probably won't be able to get there till about 8 o'clock, but I will be there.
Any time's better than no time. And I'm just going to give you quick details. Follow Hail Cheaters to get more updates from these guys. But Friday, 6th of March, so it's 7 o'clock. It's at a place called the Coin Laundry, mate, which is
where you get your washing done.
Yeah, so bring a bag of clothes and some coins, and we'll be rocking and rolling. So I think it's Coin Laundry because they've got stock like machines, pinball and shit like that. As opposed
anyway, if you didn't get that, just DM me. DMs are open. I don't know why I ever say that on this
Friday
podcast.
night,
it's
drinks
dangerous.
in London. Come and meet us. Come and meet some other FPL people and buy James a whiskey to drown his sorrows.
The only thing I would say on Spurs to close,
do it.
Do not assume that Everton will play in game week 31.
Yet.
Should we do some Twitter cues?
Yeah, we should. We've got plenty, as always.
And while Suji's going through that,
so start at the bottom.
Please hold your transfers until you've got the information of these cut results, for God's sakes. Something will happen in the next couple of days that we don't expect. You never know. It might even be a Man City and Arsenal announcement.
Ike. Come on, you irons, Ike. He's just got a Hammers logo next to him. My eyes are a bit funny. I struggle to read it. How do you increase the font size? If you were moving off Jose Perez, who would you go to?
Ismail Assar.
They're similar price, aren't they?
I think it might even be the same price.
I think Ismail Assar is a decent shout, with and only because Traore's injury. Cantwell, Fleck, maybe.
They are the same price.
But I think Ismail Assar is it's a simple move, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the things you guys have to remember is it's very difficult when I'm very much in a headspace, like I've said, about aiming towards 31. Now, that might change. Suji's less sure of what he's doing at the moment. But a lot of my recommendations are going to be towards 31. But I think in Sar's case, either way, it's okay. Look at Watford's fixtures the other side of 31. There are some winnable games there. I think of the bottom six, they're the ones I've no doubt will be fine.
Right. Tim Salter. Tim, g'day, mate. Guess why I said that, James?
Because he's down under?
Correct. Good guess. Very good guess. Detective work there. If I was to send over some Vegemite from Australia, can you line up some Vegemite on toast live on the pod?
The fuck? What the fuck's that?
I'm assuming Vegemite's like a Marmite type thing that you just have on toast.
Really?
So
I was thinking about vegetables with some dirty sauce.
I think it's Vegemite. So yes, with one condition, Tim. I'll have a whole slice of toast with Vegemite
I got this vision of Marmite and broccoli on toast.
If you send 2 stubbies, little VBs to go with them. You know the beer, Australian beer, VB? Victoria.
Oh, a can of the old amber nectar.
No, but stubbies are the little bottles because in Australia they do them in the like little.
That's a long way to send beer from, man.
Yeah, but I need something to wash down the Vegemite on toast. So
go to the fucking petrol station.
Provide me a beer to wash down the Vegemite on toast. Australian beer, all the way from Australia.
Listen, I don't like Marmite, right? Sorry to upset some people, so I ain't promising to do it. But I love the toast.
So Everton fans,
have we even got a toaster
Marmite
here?
Lovers, who else you want to upset today?
Have we got a toaster here?
Yeah, we got the George.
I've
George
definitely
Foreman.
upset the Everton fans.
Yeah.
Love you, Toffees.
Make it up to them. Tom Tibruski wants to know, why do we think people are ignoring Calvert-Lewin? He's in good form and he's basically fixture proof. I don't think people are ignoring him.
No, I don't think people are.
I just think
either.
that we've got stuck with Jimenez, Ings, Vardy, and there's just not been a compelling case to move off one of them. So the few people that have got on have done particularly well. But there just hasn't been a compelling case to come off one of the others. But there is now.
If Everton had been playing at Tottenham this weekend, I would have bought Calvert-Lewin. That was the decision I made.
Yeah, and you went with Jota instead. So FPL Rhinos would like to know, what would you what would you rather have in your FPL team? Lucas Moura or Syphilis?
I suppose Lucas Moore would get me the appearance points, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. Is he
Syphilis play
hating
for?
on Lucas Moura?
I think that's a possibility.
I mean, serves you right for buying him, I guess.
He's frustrating as hell, Lucas. He's not really an FPL asset at the moment. I don't know. I mean, he played in a different position again at the weekend. Dele Alli played false 9. I'll detail that a bit more tomorrow. But yeah, Lucas played on the left at Chelsea. He played on the right yesterday. He played up front the week before. He played in a 2 up front against Leipzig. Like, it's a mess for him. It's not going to help anybody with their returns in playing a different fucking position every game.
No. FPL Belgian. And whilst people are sending us stuff, Belgian chocolates. No, we
or
can't.
beer.
Nah, chocolates. Do you ever slightly lose interest in football when the team you support
right now
or your FPL team are doing badly?
Yeah, for those who listen to the People's Poll this morning, I'm quite happy for this football season to finish.
See, I lose interest in regular football more than I lose interest in FPL when things are going badly. But I lose interest in FPL more when my regular team are doing well. So Saturday was a very interesting day for me because last week had been hectic and this week's hectic. A lot of stuff going on and lots of different things going on. They're just juggling a lot. So FPL at that point and football does jump down a little bit in the priority list. After we won though on Saturday, like I didn't think about anything else for the rest of the day. I was on cloud nine. Like all the other stuff I had to do this week and work and all the rest of it, kids being a pain in the arse, not doing their homework, couldn't care about anything. So it actually worked in reverse where winning puts me in a really good mood, but I suppose because it happens so rarely for us. It can affect your mood.
I'm not as focused on FPL this year as I have been in previous because my rank's shit at the moment, 850k or something for those keeping track. So I'm just not that bothered. I can't really hit the objectives that I set at the start of the season. I've obviously got a new one in trying to catch yourself, sir.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not that focused. I'm more focused on it for this, is keeping my interest up. If I wasn't doing the podcast, I probably wouldn't have... I'd go in on a Friday and just do the team. I wouldn't really give much of a shit. Spurs, people will know, listen regularly, that that's my weekend fucked. It's the only good thing about playing on a Sunday. It's almost like, go to work on a Monday and just do something.
And starts again.
Yeah.
Chris Ewers, replacement for Traore if you have no money in the bank. You can't afford Barnes, can't afford Perez.
Can't afford Ismail Assar.
Can't afford Ismail Assar.
Who's it replacing?
Traore.
Well, it depends when you bought, doesn't it? A little bit. He's 5'9", but about to drop.
Cantwell.
Decore, maybe even.
Decore is not a bad shot, actually. That is pretty decent.
Yeah, maybe.
A little bit expensive. FPL Mikey. Is Alonso worth the hype or is it still too soon to judge?
Rewind. Just what I remember, by the way.
I might get him just for the last 10 weeks of the season as like a throwback, because he'll probably be done next season. He's at it.
Just what I remember on Spurs, because I don't talk about this tomorrow. Troy Parrott's price is 4.3. I do talk about Troy Parrott, but I never mention his FPL price. He's 4.3.
Cheap.
And I mention that because someone is going to ask me soon about him.
Okay.
The answer at the moment is no, but watch. Because, as shit as we've been, if he starts playing every week at 4.3, that's big. Guy knows where the onion bag is. Just one to be aware of.
Paul Ferreira Coleman. What is the meaning of life?
We've had this one before. I don't know. But when I do, I'll let you know.
The meaning of life is the pursuit of happiness, mate. There's only one measure of success, and that's happiness. So figure that out, and the rest will all slot into place.
Well, Suj knows.
Yeah. FPO_failure. Looks like I'll need to bench 2 out of Traore, Grealish, Maddison, and DCL this week. How do you normally go about deciding on a benching headache? Whoever's going to score the most points, really, isn't it? So
you'll definitely believe in Traore out, because I don't think it'd be fit.
Yeah.
And I probably would anyway. I think the other one would be Grealish at the moment.
I was going to say Grealish as well. So if that helps answer your question, normally just go with whoever
he plays. We can't really judge Villa on how they played in the cup final yesterday. As I said earlier, did fine, by the way. He did play a bit more withdrawn to start the game yesterday, Jack Grealish. And I don't know if that might continue, possibly. Obviously, in a more withdrawn position, he's less of an asset. And look, Maddison at home to Grealish or Grealish at Maddison's team, I would side with Maddison. At the moment, I'm bust to set up with both. But I think if I end up with Ismail Assar and Matt Doherty, I probably won't start Jack Grealish this game week, which would be a big call.
Gabrielle wants to know.
I did say Matt Doherty, didn't I?
Yeah.
Thank God.
Considering selling Ings to afford Sarr. What's your views on the Ings situation?
I'm all right with it. I mean,
he seemed all right when he came back on.
My personal take on Danny Ings at the moment would be they're playing Newcastle at home this weekend.
Yeah.
Newcastle have got the worst record over the last 10 games. Just doesn't feel like the right day to be selling Danny Ings. I think after that, I think they go to Watford afterwards, which obviously after the result of the weekend looks more difficult. They could blank in 31. I think that's a move for next game week. This is one where I could make a good little tidy profit by going Sarr, Doherty now and binning Rico, Traore. If it ends up costing me 0.4 this week, it will cost me 0.4. I don't care. I need to wait for this information. And you're going to have to let that go. That would be the advice in terms of the value. And yeah, you might have to come back at Sarr at a little bit more expensive. Sarr, this weekend away to Palace, is not a better asset than Danny Ings at home to Newcastle, in spite of what we've just seen.
Is Sarr a better FPL asset than Matt Doherty?
In my opinion, no.
Okay, so that's answered your question, FPL elements, because that was another question that we've just answered. People have been writing long questions this week, James.
Okay.
Who's the best midfielder under 7.7 million?
Ismaila Sarr.
Still, I don't know. You've got Antonio in there at 6.9.
No, I'll go Sarr over Antonio. Antonio's one, it would be, I can't justify the value in it. It just would be a personal opinion if they become available in 31 that it would interest me more than a Spurs asset, put it that way. If there's only the 3 games, I'd be more interested in Antonio than Lucas or Bergwijn, for example. That's all I'm referencing there.
That was Nick Kahn. So, Nick, I hope you got some advice there. This is an interesting one we can debate out a little bit. Opposite FPL, would you prefer to have a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 going forward now?
This is an FPL question.
Correct.
Because I don't want to see another Mourinho team with 3 at the back. He's not capable of coaching a team in that system.
Yeah.
3-4-3 at the moment, because there's just so much good value in there with like Jota, Calvert-Lewin, even still Ings, Jimenez. Yeah. This is the first time I've come away all season long. I need to be at least at Vardy's value. So if I need to pump into Aubameyang or Aguero or Kane if he'd been fit, then I can do that. I don't see any interest in those guys above Vardy now. And that's why another reason on the night I was like, do you know what? Let's come off. It's time.
Yeah. I would have said, initially I was thinking about a 4-4-2 because there's good value in the midfield bracket as well and there's good value at the defence bracket, but...
There's a case for that.
Yeah, I think 3-4-3 or 4-4-2 at the moment is what
you can alternate depending on your fixtures.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When I ended up Lascelles and Charlie Taylor, I always had it in my mind that there was a good chance they were both going to play for me in the game week that's just gone, but I wouldn't want to do that most weeks.
No, that's true. Joshua Lane asked a question, but Manchild's not here to help us answer it. If 2 vegans had a fight, would they still call it beef? Oh, we need a joke, don't we?
Why are you walking away to do the camera now and leaving me to talk on that shit question? Another electric shock for Serge. I don't know if that question's offensive. Sorry, vegans.
Well, no, I don't think it is. I heard a good joke earlier today.
Oh, go on.
Because our friend at Free Amigos, Don, I don't think he was having a good day, so he asked for jokes.
I saw Don having a whinge earlier. Yeah,
Did you see Andy Tactician's joke?
No.
Andy, shout out to you and Don. So, what do you call?
Don't fuck it up. He's fucking it up.
What do you call someone who's? What do you call someone who's white and Irish and stands outside all summer?
Is this racist?
Nah, it's not at all. What do you call someone who's white and Irish and stands outside all summer?
Pasty.
Patio furniture. That was a good one.
Are you sure that's not offensive?
Nah.
All right, we'll
I'm
get
sure
away
it's not.
with it.
If it is,
We're
apologies.
It wasn't our joke. We just
patio
reread it.
furniture. It was a good one. And I'm assuming they're talking about the white plastic.
We just killed poor Andy
furniture.
now if people are offended.
Yeah, it wasn't my joke. I just retweeted it.
And if you tweeted it, you got to take it.
Joachim, FPL_drive. What are your favourite styles of beer? You into IPA, stouts,
The one in
sours,
front of me.
lagers? You're on the water at the moment.
Yeah, I promise my man who messaged me on YouTube that I'm going to invest in not having a plastic bottle. I tried to draw a bit of colour on the plastic bottles to show that I always use the same bottle.
Nice.
But I will get a proper bottle because, we got to kill off plastic and shit.
We do indeed. I quite like, I've been through them all, but I love an ale, but I don't drink ale so much these days. Hogarden used to be the one with the squeeze of fresh lime.
no.
Love that.
No.
Doesn't do it for you.
No.
I like that. But then you've got the brew dogs are nice now. Camden Hells.
They're great, what I
So
normally
many-
drink.
so
To be
many
honest,
good
if I'd
drinks.
known we was going to record this late, I would have gone and got some beers at lunchtime. So I'm blaming you for not drinking beers.
Yeah, I thought you were on a health kick or something. That's why you weren't drinking.
Do I look like I'm on a health kick?
I don't know. Nicky Kassam, is Ndidi's return an instant fix, or will it take 2 or 3 weeks for the team to return to form?
We kind of discussed that.
That team's a decent team, so I don't think it's a 2
Of course,
or 3
they're a
week return.
decent team. It just felt like they were missing something the other night. But I don't know. Suddenly you take... When you looked at the components of that team so early in the season, we could kind of look at it and go, yeah, Barnes, Perez, that midfield 3, Vardy up front, back 4 looked settled together. Suddenly you're taking Vardy, Tielemans and Ndidi out of that spine, because obviously Tielemans was a sub the other night because he's not been playing very well lately. Suddenly that's the core of your spine is gone, right? It's big. So, and I don't think... Dennis Pratt did all right, but... I think Tielemans is the better player personally. I think he's been trying to find different things to fix this Ndidi problem, and him coming back will definitely give them a better resolution. There's no doubt about that. I think in any other season, they'd be shitting themselves on the points total they're on. Their points total should not have them where they are in the league.
No.
Should barely have them 4th. They haven't been as good as everybody thinks they have. And obviously, they've not been great really for 2 months. Next question.
Last question.
Okay.
And it's Andy, tactician, who's put it in there.
It's back again.
Because, actually 2 questions.
Go on then.
2 questions. Andy will get one and then Amber gets one as well. Andy took some mince out of the freezer this morning. Should I cook spaghetti bolognese or lasagna whilst I'm listening to the pod? Well, if you've got this much into the pod, it's 1 hour, 21 minutes in, and we release it at about 7:45. You're having your dinner at about 10 o'clock, mate. So I would just go straight to dessert and have ice cream and sod the dinner.
Wow, I can't believe that that's the answer that you gave. Because I definitely expected the West Ham fan on the podcast with the Spurs guy to definitely say lasagna. So on that basis, Andy, and it would be my personal choice anyway, love a good spag bowl, mate.
Do you mix the bolognese into the spaghetti before
When
you
we
eat
relegate you in game week 37, I'm bringing in big lasagnas,
it? Game
mate.
week 37? 37?
Yeah, if we beat Norwich and it gets
okay.
rearranged for
Right,
double game week
okay,
37,
fine.
I'm gonna eat a lasagna
You
right
certainly
here.
do that. Do you mix the bolognese into the spaghetti, or do you leave it on top?
Yeah.
I went to an Italian restaurant once, and I had to ask the guys, like, do you whack it on top or mix it in? And Italians mix it all in together. So there you go.
I think I should let you do it.
Yeah, maybe.
But then do it anyway.
Amber's last question.
Go on, we love Amber's questions.
Which Olympic sport would you beat your co-host at?
Football.
Olympic sport. Come on. You got to be under 23s in Olympic football, mate, and trust me, you'll pass that.
No, you can have 3 overage players.
Oh, dear.
Listen, judging by some of the players that Stuart Pearce picked in the 2012 Olympics, he might as well have given me a fucking call up.
Olympic sport. Go on, any.
Weightlifting.
Oh, dear.
What about, I don't know, something like archery or something maybe?
Yeah, I was thinking modern pentathlon.
Oh, I think you
like
might do me over.
cross-country skiing and shooting and all
About
that
wrestling,
kind of stupid.
who'd win that?
I will go with, like, if I wanted to guarantee myself a victory over you, I'd go with the floor in gymnastics. Because watching you do a roly-poly somersault, yeah, I think I'd probably get away with just like the bare minimum hand flip and I'm done.
I got thrown out of a club once in Stevenage for doing a Robbie Keane celebration on the dance floor.
Oh my God.
I did the forward roll, and as I got back up on my feet, this guy who was it seemed like 10 foot tall to me, he was probably 5'6". He was just looking down at me, he was like, get out.
Yeah. I would never trust the nightclub dance floor. Glass, booze, you're brave.
It wasn't, I was a bit younger.
Yeah.
Robbie Keane was at Spurs at the time. It was quite a while ago.
Yeah, if you all send enough money to us, we will make it happen. The floor versus what did you pick? Shooting, archery, weightlifting. Weightlifting.
No, archery might be a good shout. I don't know.
Yeah,
what else
I'm
is
quite
there?
blind,
Can
mate,
you
these days.
swim?
No, not very well.
Oh,
average.
I'll take that.
I'm
then.
average.
Yeah, I can't really swim either.
What are you picking that for?
We're fucked at sea, aren't we?
Yeah. And the other one,
I just wanted to hear if you said no.
Yeah, the other one that I'd probably pick would be basketball because you're short. So
Well, I couldn't have football, but you'd pick basketball.
you could have football. Go on.
What's the
You can
point?
have
Just
football.
give it to USA before it starts.
We just need the weather to get better, and maybe we'll make that football challenge happen at some point.
What about like long jump or something like that?
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
When we're doing this penalty shootout, we need to make that happen.
We will. And on that note, guys, thanks for tuning into the main podcast that we produce every week. We've got a ton of other content coming out for you as well. We had our People's Poll on Monday morning where we talked about coronavirus and the potential impact on football. Obviously, the number of cases in the UK has doubled since we did that this morning, mate. We've got Tottenham coming at you on Tuesday, a in-depth rundown into West Ham's game against Southampton and Tottenham's game against Wolves. Sky Fantasy Football on Wednesday. James is going good guns again in Sky. I've fallen away.
I didn't have the best weekend.
No, I've fallen away. I don't think many
scraped
did.
through in the cup.
Yeah. And we've got Tottenham, Clash of the Correspondents on Thursday, which will be Arse and Ham this week because we got Chris, FPL addict, and Adam Pritchard, our Arsenal correspondent.
Nearly said Hopcroft, didn't
Wow,
you?
too many Adams
Hopcroft,
in this world.
I'm feeling your pain at Wembley yesterday. Congratulations, Johnny Pringle.
Indeed. And then finally, the final plan, which will be an interesting one. Should I pull the trigger on my wild card and all of the FA Cup?
I'd be stunned if you pulled that trigger.
FPL Cup missed. FA Cup missed would have gone, and it will all be a lot clearer for us this week. So if you are playing in the FA Cup this week, your team, good luck. I hope you guys go through.
Me too.
Thank you for all the support. Do hit like, subscribe, share the podcast with all your FPL playing friends. Other than that, it just leaves me to say ciao for now.
Cue music, man-child.
I hope the spag bowl was nice, Andy. Tweet us a picture.
The Fantasy Football Show.